Solaris Power have a reputation for building some of the best looking boats around, and behind me here is their very latest 60 Coupe. It is an absolutely gorgeous looking thing, and I'm going to show you every single detail of it and take it out for a sea trial. My name is Hugo Andreae, you're watching Motorboat and Yachting. Let's go boating. Let's start with a little bit of a closer look at the styling of this boat, because it really is a beauty. We've got this very distinctive vertical stem, the anchor jutting out from it, loads of interesting curves within the actual topsides itself. You can probably see there's just lots of little voluptuous shapes going on. We've got these chines jutting out, these rebated windows for the bow cabin. And look at that, it sort of sweeps round and then reverses the curves for a massive great air inlet on this side. More windows down here, all painted in pretty much any colour you want. It is a very, very pretty looking thing. And I actually think the Coupe is a better looking boat than the Open. They do an Open version. You can see my tour of that on this channel too. But with the Coupe styling of it, that sweeping roofline, it's a really cool looking thing. So let's get on board and take a closer look. So starting at the stern here, we've got a passerelle that extends all the way out to join the quay so that you can step on board. There is a large hydraulic bathing platform across the back here, and then a tender garage. And I think if we can just demonstrate that now, we can lift up the tender garage, have a little bit of a look inside. Now, because the looks are such an important part of this boat, it's nice that you can tuck the tender away and then you don't have to see it. It tucks very neatly in there. You can see we've also got a bit of additional stowage in here. There is a sea bob over in that corner. Oh, bring the camera down a little bit. There's the sea bob. We've also got poles for the sun awning, life raft and everything, but it all tucks very neatly away. And then when you want to close it up, if we can close it again now, please. That all just comes down like a giant clamshell. Seals flush with the deck and you would never know it's there. But even here you can see it's almost unnecessary, all these styling curves, but it's so beautiful to see them moulded into the shape here. We've got a nice big sunbed up above that tender platform. All important scatter cushions everywhere you look. Diamond stitching in the upholstery. And look at some of the detailing around here. We've got these lovely teak cappings running up either side. The fair leads, beautiful stainless steel. I think these actually lift up if I give them a bit of a pull. You can see, so you've got unencumbered access to all that ropes, lines. There's even a winch to pull it in, but then it also tucks away out of sight, and then you've got that beautiful continuous unbroken sweep up onto the side decks. Now, here is the main cockpit. Big square-shaped table in the middle of it, seating around three sides. Here we've got the extending sun awning. You can see that extends all the way out over the aft section there, but you've got a natural extension of this solid hard top to provide a certain amount of shade. Here we have a wet bar, so right next to the table you've got a wet bar. There's quite handy storage in here actually. You can see there's a couple of director's chairs that just slide in there. Often that's a little bit of a forgotten detail, but when you're sitting around a table like this, you want to be able to seat people on this side too, and having the director's chairs tucked in there makes a lot of sense. On this side, got a bit more storage behind there, nothing particularly special, but I do like this little neat insert. If I lift that up, you can see we've also got an extra joystick in there, so if you're berthing stern two, you can use that whilst looking over the stern and see exactly where you are positioned in relation to the quay. Now, these have always had walk-around decks, and this is no different. You've got these lovely tall bulwarks along the side here. That provides protection, and it means you don't then need the, well, I say ugly stainless steel rails. I don't really have a problem with them, but it does make for a more unspoilt styling if you like to have a totally clean line without any guardrails. Now this has an opening helm door, and we'll take a look at that from inside, but you can see that that does obstruct a little bit of that passageway. But if you come along this side, you can see just how wide these side decks are. Quite nice to notice up above, the hardtop actually flares out to provide a certain amount of shelter at this aft end. Now here is one of the key features of this boat. These whole side windows, enormous long side windows, drop down and rise up. So you've kind of got the best of both worlds. You've got the fully enclosed saloon, the style of a coupe, but with those big side windows that drop and a big sunroof overhead. It really does open up, and you've got the feeling of certainly a semi-open boat. Now here are these lovely side decks with these teak cappings, all obviously with pop-up cleats, again, to keep that purity of line. Nice that there's a little opening window in this section here too, so even though this is the main seating section here, if you're sitting as up at the helm station, you've got a window on both sides. Just helps you communicate with the crew apart from anything else. Now moving forward into the bow area, you get a good scale of the beam here. It does carry that beam a long way forward, and it makes for a really good sized seating area here. So it's part sun pad, part seats. You can see we've got a little bench built into this bow section here. Sun pads further aft with flip up headrests or back supports. I'm not sure if we can really see it from here, but this particular one also has solar panels built in there, so that provides charging for the batteries and means you can run the boat without having to fire up the generator all the time. Anchor locker under here, all very nicely concealed. Again, it's all just part of maintaining that purity of line, having everything recessed. We've got the pop-up cleats. There's even a pop-up winch under there. And of course, pop-up lights. So the whole idea is to keep it absolutely as clean and elegant and uncluttered as possible, but you've still got all that functionality when you need it. Now this, it may look white, but if you look very closely, that is actually pearlescent, a sort of pearl effect paint. So absolutely no expense spared on the finishing as well as the shape. Beautiful sort of midnight metallic blue hull sides, pearlescent, pearl coloured paint on the coach roof moulding. So let's come back down. Let's start all the way. You can squeeze past this. You can see that it is on these big pantograph hinges that swing open and shut. In fact, let me just close it so that you can see how that, I haven't closed it, it'll seal properly and lock itself into position, but you can free up this side deck too. Another big opening side window along this side, but let's admire it from inside. So opening window on this side creates that sort of bar area with the galley. Sliding door on this side tucks away behind that wet bar, so it's very discreet, you barely know it's there. Love this aft galley arrangement. It means you are in the perfect position to serve out to the table in the cockpit. Also with that window open, it provides a nice seamless kind of connection with that area. Good size windows, plenty of light in here. Even though it's a coupe model, because you've got glass all the way around and overhead, it doesn't feel like you're enclosed. Got eye level lockers up here. I'm not going to open them all, but you can see them. A Miele induction hob, sink in here, storage in there, and one of my favourite features, well, here we've got a very neat little wine cooler. Not an awful lot of bottles in there, but you could certainly get a half case of champagne or so on in there. And let me just find that special feature. Okay, I've remembered where it is. You need these little buttons here, and if I swivel around, you can see there's a bit of a cutout in that surface, but press that button, and as if by magic, emerging out of the countertop is that all-important coffee machine. How cool is that though, to have that concealed under the work surface and then it pops up when you need it. Now the various different options on this side, you can have a sideboard unit here. I think the owner has done very well here to spec a day heads. I think that is the perfect position for it. Doesn't need to be terribly big, but right by the cockpit there, so you can come straight in out of the sea in wet feet, pad into there if you need to use it. I think that's a very sensible position. Lots of teak through here. They finish these boats beautifully too. You can see we've got teak on the deck, we've got teak furniture. There's another fridge in there. There's also a fridge over here. I probably should have shown you. Oh no, that's the dishwasher. That's the fridge in there. And then moving forward into the lounge area, this is where those big windows really come into their own. Absolutely transformative. Gives you that lovely, I can feel the breeze blowing right through the boat here, and it makes such a difference. I don't know, I think a lot of people like the idea of an enclosed boat, but if you go out on a hot day, it can feel really stuffy, even with air conditioning on. I'm not a big fan of sort of artificial air conditioning, and to be able to have a natural sea breeze blowing through the boat, in my opinion, is infinitely preferable. And having those two big opening side windows completely changes the whole feel of it. Big sunroof overhead too, lets in yet more light. The dinette will expand to create a bigger table on that side. I should also point out it is actually on a high-low strut. It is a manual one, but it does mean if you really want to sleep an extra person or two on board, this will drop down, infill cushions and create an extra occasional berth. Behind this sofa here, there is a very well concealed television. And I'm really impressed by how quiet all the motors are on this boat. It's something a lot of people forget, but it really spoils the effect if there's a great noisy grinding noise that takes hours for a television or a window to move. But these all move very silently, very smoothly, and completely changes the feel of the boat. The helm area over on the starboard side, quite a cool little seat this actually. Nice, comfortable sort of armchair style, but equally it flips over and creates a sort of bolster cushion. So if you want to just use it as a support, you can stand at the helm very comfortably. Gives yourself a great view, a slightly more sort of commanding position if you like. I always like to drive boats standing up. Gives you a bit more, I don't know, a more sort of connection with the helm. You're closer to the wheel, you're closer to the throttles. Gives you a better view forward. Single piece screen along here. Have got these quite thick mullions on either side, but actually the view out through that single piece screen is very good indeed. There's that sliding opening window on the port side, and of course the side helm door. I can push that open, and again that just gives a lovely breeze coming through at the helm station, and of course gives you very easy access out onto the side decks if you want to help with fenders and lines and so on, or just get a better view. Dropping down into the accommodation, because this is a coupe, it's much more likely to be used for cruising over distance than perhaps the open boat over on that side. And so this becomes a slightly more important area, and there are lots of different options down here. Most of them are 3-cabin boats, but you can have 2 bigger cabins and a lower lounge on this side. But let me show you what this one has. So we've got a VIP cabin forward. Again, absolutely surrounded with teak down here. Look at this, even the TV in the bulkhead has got its own teak frame, just offsetting the high technology TV behind it. But it's a lovely touch, it just adds to the whole, it makes it feel more integrated. Mirror on that side, teak shelves either side of the bed. This is where that beam comes into its own down here too. You've got good space on either side of the bed. The headroom is really good where I am standing here. Plenty of room up here. There is a skylight. I just rustle, I hit the blind on that. But if we flick the camera back, you'll see it does start to lower a little bit at the head of the bed, but by that stage you're already sitting or lying in the bed itself. These are those hull windows from inside. Got net curtains. Not sure what I feel about those. I usually prefer blinds, but maybe here it would be a nicer sort of diffused light, but really nice to have a view out when you're lying in bed through those windows. Lots of artificial lighting to boost the natural sunlight. Because we've got the sun pad cushions overhead, there isn't any sun coming through there, but you can see once you remove the cushions, you would get natural light coming through there too. We have an ensuite bathroom. More teak around here. Big mirror up above the basin. Loo down here. And shower compartment. Nothing particularly special about any of them, but very nice sized ensuite. Then moving aft through the boat. On this side we have, well actually this is normally a twin cabin, but on this occasion the owner has asked for it to be made up as an office. So you've got a single bed, but then there's also a desk area here, so presumably so he can sit and do some work and have somewhere private if he wants to, but also of course it doubles up as a guest cabin when you've got people on board. And then moving aft through the boat, we've got the owner's cabin. Now, a couple of doors are being refitted on this. There would of course normally be a door here, as there would on this ensuite bathroom. But let's go and have a look at the cabin itself. Full beam mid cabin, pretty much par for the course on a boat like this, but let's not forget it is only 60 foot. I say only 6 foot, it's a big size, but it does mean that for what is a very sort of sporty, elegant, not necessarily a huge high volume boat, this is a really good sized full beam cabin. Lots of nice colours and textures, and what they balance so well here is the kind of warmth of the natural teak with the sort of lighter colours of the pale cream sofas and headboards, and lots of lovely textures. We've got a bit of soft carpet underfoot down here. We've got suede or Alcantara on this surface here. Again, Alcantara on the bed head, leather wrapping round the pillows itself. Just a really nice balance of light and shade and contrasting textures. Storage on this side, big hanging locker, windows either side, more of those net curtains. Love this big sort of corridor area here. It just provides that feeling of a bit more space rather than just being hemmed into the cabin. And then ensuite bathroom on this side. There would of course be another door here, but this is also being worked on, it hasn't yet been fitted. But you can see we've got the loo down there, sink there, and another nice shower compartment with marble seats and flooring. But there are various different options. I'll explain one or two of them. You can, for instance, have a lower lounge area here, but that's more common on the Open 60. And rather than having a full beam owner's cabin, if you have that lower lounge, you can then have two smaller cabins, one a double and one a twin either side back there. So lots of different options going on. So that is a quick tour of the boat. And if we're very lucky, we're about to take it out for a ride and see how it performs at sea. Look down at the engine room while we're here. Always best to do that when the engines are not too hot. Lift this up. Quite a steep step down. Oh, it feels a bit like a nightclub down here with this ultraviolet lighting. So this has the two most powerful engine options. They're twin Volvo Penta IPS 1350s. The IPS drives are back here. I can probably get behind. So they are connected directly to the engine. You can see that's where the pods go out through the bottom of the hull, forward-facing propellers, more efficient than shafts, and of course you have that joystick control for really easy berthing options. Now, there is a bit of intrusion from the tender garage overhead. That's what limits the height above the engines, but it is enough space through the middle and on either side. You can see we've got a big generator there. If I spin around, you can see we've got fuel tanks on either side here, fuel filters over there, sight gauge here, and on this side, exactly the same. So actually, decent amount of room down here, and you could certainly fit a stabilizer system, a seakeeper in there if you wanted to. Okay, so I've got a chance now to helm the Solaris Power 60 Coupe. I've got triple Raymarine screens in front of me. I've got the seat in the bolster position, and I'm using the twin throttles here rather than the joystick because we're going to go a bit quicker. Now, because we've got these windows all the way around, particularly like the fact that these open, it just feels like you've got a more unobstructed view, and this lovely door here makes a huge difference just having a bit of fresh air coming in. But let's put the throttles into gear. Put a little bit of speed on. Now, one of the things about these Solaris Power hulls is that they have a very low center of gravity, so that should ensure that they remain nice and stable, and that big flared bow should keep it nice and dry too. So we'll see how it performs and see if it delivers. So starting off, very slow speed, 1000 RPM. At this speed, we're burning 58 litres an hour and doing just about 10 knots, so a really comfortable displacement speed. But let's see what happens when we put the throttles down. So those big IPS 1350s, little bit of bow lift, but not much at all. The turbo starts to kick in. We're now planing comfortably. Just going to ease back a little bit. So we're up to 30 knots. So at 2000 RPM, we're doing just about 28 knots and burning 259 litres an hour. Feels like a really comfortable cruising speed. And it certainly feels like a big, solid boat. Let's see what happens when we put in a little bit of a turn. We're going to turn to port. We've got to keep a super sharp eye out. There's a lot of floating wood in the waters. This is all kinds of fun, sea trialing whilst dodging the logs in the water. We're just going to do a little speed run, see what it does flat out. So take it up to 2,350 RPM. The bow flattens out. We're now doing 35 knots, 35 and a half knots. Keeping a very close eye out, 36 knots and 387 litres per hour. So pretty good solid speed. I'm just going to ease it back a little bit because I don't want to come across a floating log at this speed. I'm going to do a turn to port, just triple check. I can't see anything in the water there. Let's see how it turns. Now, because of that hard top, you do get a little bit of a limitation on the view. So it does just cut the horizon a little bit on this side. Now we've got a nice bit of lean. Those IPS drives do cause quite a bit of lean, but actually that really helps it turn round. It gives it a slightly tighter turning circle. I'm just going to flatten it out because we've got a few lumps and bumps to get over. Luckily these are watery ones rather than lumps and bumps of wood. But it feels like a very confident hull and exactly as we hoped. There's no spray at all. We've got a little bit of pitching, but that's hardly surprising given the size of the waves here. We've probably got somewhere between, oh, it looks like there's a piece of wood there. Let's try it over to starboard. And this where people say that agility isn't important on a 60-foot boat, but frankly, when you're driving in a boat like this and you've got lumps of wood in the water, it makes a huge difference. You want to be able the constant confidence that it's going to turn quickly and accurately and respond to your steering inputs. And that is one of the things about these IPS drives, is you do get a nice quick response. There's not that kind of 2-second delay that you sometimes get with shaft drives. So it does turn nice and quickly. It's not the sharpest turning circle, but it feels really responsive to the steering. And while I wouldn't say it's necessarily the softest riding hull, okay, we've got a very quick boat coming up on our port side. It's pretty hectic in here in the Bay of Cannes. During the boat show, it always is pretty manic. So we've got to keep a sharp eye out. But let's try a turn to starboard this time, see if that gives us a bit of a different feel. We've got a nice clear view on this side. It's a little bit of a small boat coming, but I think we've got time to get in front of that. Nice clear water. And of course, turning to starboard has the benefit you can look out the window and get a better view. So just see if we can do, I'm not going to do a full 360 because there frankly isn't space in here. So I'm just going to ease it back a little bit bring it back down to a comfortable cruising speed of 20 knots. And at 20 knots, 1600 RPM, it's burning about 160 litres per hour. And to be honest, this feels like a really comfortable cruising speed, and certainly when there's so much going on around us, it's certainly a bit more relaxing for me. Oh, there's another log, but we've just dodged that one. But this feels like a really comfortable cruising speed. The whole boat feels a little bit more relaxed. It's significantly quieter. It gives me a little bit more time to keep an eye out. And I think, to be honest, this is what your guests are going to be most comfortable at too, because you've got a nice, stable ride. Pretty soft too in these kind of conditions now. So overall, I think what we have demonstrated is that you've got that broad range of cruising speed. I'm told that with clean propellers it'll actually do 38, 39 knots. But to be honest, most of the time, I think this is the speed you're going to be most comfortable at. So a little bit of a hair-raising sea trial, but really good to get an experience of how it performs and just how responsive it is to the steering. Because when things are like this, it makes a real difference. Always interesting to see what a boat is like underway, and just as we're coming back into the harbour, I thought it'd be fun to show you what it's like in the owner's cabin. So those lovely windows do give a pretty good view of the sea out. You can hear the engines rumbling away in the background. You're not going to go to sleep with the engines running, but you could certainly doze away a bit in the morning just as you're pulling out of harbour or into a pretty bay. But it is a very nice looking cabin with a lovely view through those windows. Let's finish up our sea trial of the Solaris Power 60 Coupe, coming back into the harbour here at the Cannes Boat Show after a slightly hair-raising sea trial. Now, prices for this start at 2.1 million euros. It is very much a premium coupe model, but what you do get for that is all that lovely Solaris Power styling and the versatility of a coupe model that you can be completely secure from the sun, from the waves, from the wind, whatever it is. You've got a really competent hull, good responsive steering, but I think what really makes this boat are those clever drop-down windows. The versatility that offers in terms of having a fully enclosed air-conditioned space, but also being able to open it up, drop those windows down, open up that sunroof and make it feel like a much more open boat. So do let me know what you make about it in the comments. Always interested to hear your thoughts, and thank you for watching.